Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Lawns Across America. We are coming now into the month of May. That's right, almost to Derby Day, Cinco de Mayo. These are the times when everybody's lawn is finally waking up and everybody is starting to enjoy the mow. It's so funny as I look through our Facebook group and I see folks, they're like, first mow of the year in Wisconsin. And I'm like, wow, so late. This is like last weekend. I'm like, man, you guys really are far behind in your weather this year. I think a lot of y'all, you just literally are not going to have and have not had a spring. I'm sorry about that. It happens every couple, 2-3 years. That'll happen where the teasing just doesn't stop. The warm, cold. I was talking to my friend Luke in Northwest Indiana over by there, Crown Point, and he was telling me they were 80 on Saturday. So all of Chicagoland, and I guess a lot of y'all up north got 80 degrees last Saturday. Then Sunday was like 70 with some rain, and even today I think you're back down in the 40s, 50s, maybe some high 30s at night. What a tease. What a teasing time of year. But the good news is I can promise all of you by the time we get to Derby Day and then Cinco de Mayo, I have to look it up. When is the Derby this year? I should know. I think it's this coming Saturday, which is what? Is that the first? It's always the first Saturday in May, and I think it is. Let's see. Kentucky Derby. I can't type and talk at the same time. Kentucky. Oh, Saturday, May 7th. Oh, we have time. Oh, we have so much time. I was afraid I was going to miss it for some things I got going on this weekend. So that's good. It shows you how behind I am. If I don't know when the Derby is, which that's my favorite Saturday of the year, every year is Derby Day. So good. I have plenty of time to make some content for that. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is Derby Day or Cinco de Mayo, which sometimes you're going to celebrate both of those for the days. That is actually when your lawn will look good. I promise that it's like a stopping point. Like we're all done weather-wise after that. You hope. Now I was watching Millennial Farmer up there, Zach, way up there in Minnesota, and doesn't look good for them this year. I talked to Anthony in our Fargo outpost, and he is just starting to see some of his lawn. So a lot of updates to come for our friends up in the north, but wow, what a crazy year it's been. Even down in the south, you guys with like Bermuda and Georgia, it's been a little slower to wake up this year. Of course, we're going through dry spell in Florida that we're fighting with. Some parts of Texas I mentioned in my last video. Yeah, Texas is dry too. And somebody's like, bro, Texas is a big state, man. Some parts of Texas are dry, but not all. And it is true. We don't realize how big Texas is. Texans know how big Texas is. They'll tell you. But anyway, fun stuff. So kind of interesting to see the weather going on around the country. But for sure, we're all getting into that point now where we're getting to enjoy the mow. Now, I wanted to go ahead and tell a quick story here. I meant to tell this. The Freedom 500 was a couple weeks ago now. And for those of you that didn't see, I want to tell you a story. So I'm known to be the grass police out there now, the lawn enforcement. In other words, what happens is whenever I go to the races live now, and so I actually have a spot that I sit in turn 4, and when racers go into the grass, I run down to the fence and I yell at them and scream at them, act like I'm putting a hex on them, tell them to get off my grass, have a good time. And a lot of folks at the Freedom Factory, they appreciate that. We have a good time. It's fun banter, and by this last race, we had such a great time. But with that, one of the first races, Heavy D, as he is known, Dave Sparks, huge YouTuber, he actually ran into the grass. He was one of the first, I think it was the first live race. First Freedom 500 was the first live race we had there, and he was the first to kind of do some massive damage to the grass, which didn't end up even being that bad. It repaired within a few weeks, but he was the first one that ran in. He did that, and being a little careless in his driving, which I'll talk about how much better the driving has gotten for these races. And for those of you that don't know, I just started rambling into this. I'm talking about Cletus McFarland's Freedom Factory. Cletus McFarland, his name is Garrett Mitchell. He's a YouTuber here in Bradenton. I was very fortunate to be able to do a collab with him a couple years ago where I put the infield into his racetrack. He bought a racetrack here, and now I still take care of that. And so I fertilize it. I take care of the weeds out there. I do all the mowing and the edging inside the track. And with that, I'm known as the grass guy, right? And so I have a good time out there, and it's really fun for me. There's nothing better than getting out there on a Saturday. It's 100,000 square feet and just mowing for hours on end. There's no enjoy the mow like that, honestly. But so back to this, that first Freedom 500, he brings in a lot of celebrity YouTubers. They do the race. It's awesome. They race Crown Vics. It's really fun. It's what old school Saturday night racing used to be when I was a kid, just dudes just banging and hanging, and it was great. So anyway, Heavy D, Dave Sparks, he's the first to really do damage to the grass. A lot of the fans get on him, And it gets to a point where I think it gets carried. Well, I know now it got carried away. And I say not like in a bad way, but to the point where people are going on his Instagram and leaving nasty messages. You killed the grass. You don't care, blah, blah. And again, it could be said that he made a careless move to cause this. And at that time, that's how I saw it. And I also left a nasty comment on his Instagram, right? Oh my gosh, Al, you? Yeah. Yeah, I got carried away. I called him a dirty hillbilly and told him to go back to the Discovery Channel and stop ruining my lawn. I got carried away. I did. I got caught up in the emotion of the moment, and I should have done that. So for all you haters out there that come after me, trust me, it's karma. Whatever you send my way, it's karma because I send it out too. So anyway, So with that, though, he ended up blocking me on Instagram. Now, you have to understand, this guy has millions of followers. It's not like he's like knows who I am or anything like that. He probably and he does run his own Instagram, but I'm sure he's just going through and being like, these people are getting carried away and just blocking people, right? I mean, I've done that too. When people leave comments, I'm like, you're over the top, bro. Stop. I'll just block them. Like, whatever. Just move on. Doesn't even think twice about it. Well, he did that, and that was it. So over the last I need to look up the dates. It's been over a year now, obviously. Yeah, it has been over a year because this is the next Freedom 500. So he was at another race. They did a fun thing where they decorated their car with grass for a different race, whatever. But I wasn't able to really do anything then and talk to him or anything. I tweeted and things like that, but whatever. So it was another race. Well, this race, Freedom 500, I was like, man, we're going to do something to make up with him, and I'm going to get unblocked on Instagram. So for those of you that have watched any of my videos, you'll see I made a video talking about the Freedom 500 and taking care of it, and then I made a plea. Heavy D, unblock me, man. I'm so sorry. I got carried away. Well, like unblock me because I want to be cool now. I want to have a good time and anyway. So with that, Brett and I, we went to the race, and we sit in turn 4, and this time we went a little bit further than we normally do, and I'll tell you some things we're going to do in the future here. But we went further. I brought fake grass, believe it or not, AstroTurf, and we rolled that out on the stands for our feet and for our butts. So we're sitting on fake grass. We had our area. We had seats that had law enforcement stickers on the back of them. We wore our law enforcement T-shirts, but we cut the sleeves out. We wore tactical pants, and we wore our New Balance 608s. His were brand new. Brett's were brand new. Mine, obviously, are weathered and stained with Humic 12. So we dressed like that for the race. We went in character. I drank a lot of Busch Lights, which is also me in character. But I also took 2 sod pods, grass plugs. And my goal was to use those to get attention to Heavy D. Somehow I was like, I got to get a sod pod to him. Got to do it. So ends up, Brett finds a spot, and he goes, hey, he's right down there by the track when they were doing opening ceremonies or whatever. He goes, let's go. And this is on Brett's TikTok. Don't look up Brett's Grasscapades on TikTok. He also has that on his Instagram, but the TikTok got a lot of views. He put some funny music to it, like I don't know, marriage music or I'm in love music or forgive me music. I don't know what kind of music it was. It was good. So it shows me walking up. I go to the fence. I see Heavy D. I scream for him. I show him my sod pod. He sees it and immediately dashes towards me. Now, again, at this point, he doesn't know this is the lawn care nut that I blocked, and he doesn't have any idea. All he knows is he is the guy that is known for destroying the grass. He knows that. And he sees some dude at the fence wanting to hand him a sod pod, some grass. So he's smart. He's going to go along with it. Let's make some content. So he rushes up, and I throw it over the fence to him, and he catches it. I'm like, I love you, man. You're the best. I love you, dude. Well, at some point during that, I think he did realize maybe. But the long and the short of it is he had a great race, all of that. The next, and he did. He's a hell of a driver, that guy. He can really drive. Obviously, he's a stunt driver by trade. So he did a good job. And I will say, let me say, these races have gotten better. The first few races were guys bumping and banging. I mean, Danny Duncan was there just wrecking people on purpose. And you had everything in between, right? But at the end of the day, I think they've realized over time that, listen, if we actually all try to race serious, we can make some really good racing here. I mean, it is. The racing out there is so exciting because they have legit drivers in there. I mean, I would say that some of these YouTubers are legit drivers for real. And then they got local guys like Kevin from KSI, and then they've even brought in pros. So Alex Bowman, I mean, like serious professional. So it's like no joke, right? But even the YouTubers, they are such good drivers. They really are. So when guys aren't bumping and banging too much and they're actually being serious about the race, it is. I'm telling you, I just have never seen better live racing. And I've been to a ton of NASCAR events in Chicago. So I can appreciate what they do. And so that was really exciting. And Heavy D, what a great driver, man. He really did a good job. So either way, the next day, Diesel Dave, who is his partner there, he's more accessible. So I'm reaching out to him. I'm like, bro, tell him to unblock me. Tell him to unblock me. So he's like, oh, I will. So totally cool, man. And then we showed him the video. He unblocked me. We had a couple DMs, me and Heavy D. And I was like, bro, And at this point, he knew who I was or whatever. And I'm like, I'm so sorry I did this. He goes, no problem, man. We had fun, John. It was good. So he totally took it in stride, which was awesome for me. I got to apologize to him for me being an ass. And he was like, bro, you're cool. So I don't know. I think that's a cool story. So I'm going to make that a tradition now. So a couple things. What we're going to do, and we're working on how to do this, just so y'all know, my content's really changing over the next few weeks, hopefully. And that's a risk that you take as a YouTuber, but I got to do something different. So, and you're going to see actually a video, hopefully in the next few days, that's a start of that, or my first attempt at some of this new content. But the long and the short of that is that one of the things I want to do is we have this so much fun in turn 4 when we sit there and we hang out as we ended up making friends with some guys sitting behind us. I've now sent them t-shirts. One guy was from Maine. We made friends with people all around us, because once they figure out, oh yeah, that's the guy that did the grass. I'm actually, just so you guys know, people ask, do I ever get recognized? The answer is no, except at Cletus races I get recognized. So I'm more well known as being his grass guy than I am as being the lawn care nut, which when you're me, who cares, right? Reach is reach. It is what it is. But when I do go there and people realize, oh, that's the grass guy, and then they see me having a couple 2-tree bush lights, and we're having a good time, and it becomes a lot of fun. So what we want to do is expand that. And so locals who come, we'll figure out how to do it. I think it'd be cool if we had like 2 rows of all of us dressed in our law enforcement garb. And so we'll figure out how we're going to make that work. We cut the sleeves out and stuff, so it's fun. Everybody cuts their sleeves out of all their shirts at that race. So you kind of fit in. But then we're going to maybe try to have some sort of something where a couple 2-3 of y'all from around the country come in also, and we do a fishing thing, and we do a weekend, and you get to go to the race, and we give you the Woody's Riveroo experience, which if you don't know what that is, just ask anybody that follows me on Instagram. So yeah, that's all some other stuff that I'm doing, but I just can tell you that I've not had so much fun at a local event ever until I started going to these races, and this last one was the best of all, mainly because of the interaction we got to do with a giant YouTuber, Heavy D Sparks, but also because we just had a good time hanging out because the racing is good. So hope you all enjoyed that story. And with that, let's jump into the podcast today. I think the first thing I want to talk about is Poa annua or Poa trivialis, because that's the other one. But we're in the Poa panic stage right now, and we're going to continue through as people in Wisconsin and north like that start coming out of dormancy. The Poa panic is going to continue. I saw a fella on Facebook the other day, poor guy. I don't think his lawn was more than 2,000 square feet, which isn't that big, but he had gone through and he had just areas of just brown where he had spot sprayed glyphosate trying to kill out what he thought was Poa annua. And it might have been Poa triv, Poa annua, Poa. I don't freaking know, some sort of Poa, but he killed it with glyphosate. Now his lawn is like brown. I mean, I'm like, oh, it pains me because just let me explain something to you about Poa, okay? There's nothing wrong with getting down and digging things out with your hands. Let me just say that first. And that's really the best thing to do if you think you have a Poa problem. Because just because you see light green grass in a spot, it doesn't mean it's Poa. Okay? There are other things that can make the grass light green, including that it has a weaker root system in a spot and it's just slower to wake up, or anyway, there can be a lot of things. So the chemicals, whatever, digging it out is easier. But with that, let me tell you about a Poa annua, Poa trivialis strategy that I really wish more of you would employ because, well, let me just tell you the strategy. So the first thing is, I talked about hand digging. That's going to be a part of the strategy. If you're right here in spring and you're seeing these light yellowish patches that you think might be Poa annua or Poa trivialis, don't grab the chemical first. I don't know why people grab chemicals first. I don't know if chemicals are sexy. I don't know. There's definitely people here on the internet that they've used every chemical. They can tell you about every chemical. Like I said, they've actually used them. They'll tell you where they sprayed them. There are some real people that are some real chemologists that have blanketed this earth with chemical, and they're here online. I try not to be that. I don't want you to reach for that first. I think in this case, springtime, what you do is take a bunch of pictures for sure and document. This is so important, but just dig the areas out. This guy that I'm showing here, I'm not going to show him, but I was talking about that I saw on Facebook. It's a 2,000 square foot area. If you dug out 4 patches every weekend, you'd probably have the whole thing done in like 3 weeks, right? I mean, it's not that difficult. So that's the first thing. That's really the strategy. If you have what you think is a POA problem, just dig it out. Just dig out the spots. Maybe you have to rent a sod cutter if you have large areas. Just cut them out. Just cut the stuff out. Either drop sod, which sod doesn't really blend too well like that, so you might have to seed, but you get what I'm saying, right? Springtime, this is what you have to do. And this goes away from crabgrass and everything else, because if you think you have a POA problem, forget about crabgrass right now and deal with the POA problem. You can deal with crabgrass later. So dig out the pre-emergent, or dig out the pre-emergent. Dig out the POA spots. Use some seed in, put some seed in there. Put down some covering for the seed, peat moss or some recycled newspaper stuff, Scott's Patchmaster, whatever, and seed those spots. And no pre-emergent. I'm taking care of POA right now. That's what this segment is. This segment is about POA. That's what we're focusing on. We're not focusing on crabgrass because we're going to seed the POA spots that we're going to dig out, so we're not going to use pre-emergent. If you want to use tenacity or mesotrione, yes, that is what you would use at this time. You would just blanket the entire lawn anyway because it'll do some post and some pre of other stuff. And then you can do your seeding, and you can do that right over top of your seed spots, and in those areas it'll help. That's what you would do, all right? That is the time to use tenacity and mesotrione, not all these other times when you guys use it. That would be the time. Spring seeding of spots of POA that you dug out, and you would just go ahead and just blanket the whole lawn with tenacity. That's what I would do. That's number one. From there, it's patience. Feed. Let's get the lawn we have thicker. Now we're probably going to get some crabgrass, whatever. We'll deal with weeds as they come in. Hopefully the tenacity will have helped with some of that. But we're going to deal with that, knowing that our focus this year, because the POA bothers me so bad that I have to do this, this is my focus. So I'm feeding the lawn during the summer. I'm still always sticking to the basics. And by the way, with pretty much everything I tell you guys, you always stick with the basics also. It's not an either or that way. And the basics are watering, mowing, and fertilization. Those are the basics, okay? Sure, we're going to leave the pre-emergent out because we're going to dig out these spots of POA and we're going to reseed those spots. We're going to cover them with peat moss or Scott's Patchmaster. We're going to water a lot and move forward, so no pre-emergent. But we are going to keep feeding the lawn because we're going to thicken up the grass that's there. Maybe you have some Kentucky bluegrass that'll spread a little bit for you. If you have turf-type tall fescue, maybe that will thicken up for you. That's the idea. Keep that healthy. We're going to continue keeping weeds out, and we're going to keep things irrigated, and we're going to get ourselves through the summer. Now, when we get to the fall, remember, POA strategy, now we're going all pre-emergent. We're going to get our prodiamine down as we're moving out of the summer and into the fall. We're going to get prodiamine down, and we're going to get that down as the soil temperatures fall to 70. One application to start. Bam. You'll see that that's going to change. You're not going to be able to fall seed now. But remember, our problem is POA, so you're going to have to leave seeding aside too. Sticking to the basics, still watering, still mowing, still fertilizing, no seed. I'm going pre-emergent because I don't want that POA in there. Don't care if it was POA Triv or if it was POA Annual. I don't care. I just hand dug stuff. So it's all gone now, right? Because I dug it all out. So the only thing that's left is some seeds in the ground. They'll germinate in the fall, so I'm going to put that pre-emergent down. 3 months after that, if you still have soil temperatures that are above 50, another application. You could use dithiopyr or prodiamine in the fall time, but because you're following this strategy, you'll have plenty of prodiamine left because prodiamine has a yearly max, but you're following this strategy, so you'll have plenty left, but you could use either one. And we're going to prevent as much as we can of that POA. The next spring, you're going to hope for the best, and you're going to see, did I rid myself of this POA? I'm still not putting pre-emergent down for crabgrass because I might have some areas to dig out, so I'm going to just wait another season, and I'm going to watch. Now, if you got hammered with crabgrass really, really bad, then you might switch the strategy up. Well, the POA wasn't as bad as I thought. The crabgrass is worse than I thought. I'm just going through different scenarios with you guys. This is how life works, by the way. You see, this is how you navigate your life. Right? You're like, okay, so I got a challenge here. I'm going to have to overcome this challenge, and I move forward. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, this challenge that I'm working on overcoming, something else got worse. Think of this like I use a lot of fitness stuff now, working out, right? I recently started working out, and I developed a problem in my elbow, bursitis, right? And so I was like, man, this is terrible. I had a problem. I was fat, and I was getting winded when I would try to do small things. I could feel myself. Like I could feel my physical, not fitness, just my physical overall being just sinking. I was like, wow, like my own mortality came to me. I was like, I got to get fit. So I started getting fit, right? Start feeling better. Like, all right, I'm making progress on this problem of me being a slob that's, whatever, let himself go. Man, I feel so much better. But now all of a sudden a new problem has cropped up, and it's this bursitis in my elbow, which is more annoying than it is hurtful. And I don't like the way it looks, but so you see, but what am I doing? So now I'm addressing the bursitis, and I've changed my workouts a little bit. Do a little bit more, few more leg days, a lot more cardio, a little bit less things that are working on the elbow so I can get that cared for, and then I'm going to go back. Do you see how that works? And this is the lawn. But none of this is me expecting to be Arnold Schwarzenegger tomorrow. I know that it would take a long time to get there if that's what I ended up wanting to be. And so that's how the lawn is. So either way, we're coming into year 2. We think, okay, I dug out all my POA last year. I put down pre-emergent in the fall, possibly even 2 apps. As the spring comes out, so now you're into 2023 now, I'm going to watch. And if I don't see as many light green spots, then I know that I did a good job. If I see more or many, I'm going to go right back to it. I'm going to hand dig. I'm going to start seeding again. I'm going to go put fall pre-emergent. You just keep going until you eventually overcome that problem. And that will be a better way to do it, because during all that time you're going to learn your land. You're going to learn different things about that, because remember, you're taking pictures all this time. Why is the POA only in this spot and not that spot? Blah, 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 right? There's so many things that you will learn during that, but you also don't have to just reach for the glyphosate right out the gate. Kind of rhymes. So I think that would be the strategy that I would undertake. And the other thing I want to say, too, with the POA is I actually don't know if it's as bad of a problem for everybody as they think. I think it's one of those things where a lot of y'all don't notice that you even have a POA problem until somebody in a Facebook group shows you that you do. I also think about this way. If you think about somebody that your mate, like your girlfriend, your boyfriend, you don't notice their flaws. Even sometimes you like their flaws, right? But then somebody else that's too blunt or doesn't care will point out their flaws, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, God, I never noticed that, right? I think that's that way about the lawn. I had somebody say that to me once. It was a few years ago. I had a picture of my turf-type tall fescue lawn back in Indiana, and there was one light green spot that I never knew was there. And I put up a picture, and somebody made a comment, yeah, look at the POA in your lawn there. Rah! You know, they had to try to tear me down, which is always fun. But I never even noticed it until then. I was like, huh, but I already moved out, so it didn't matter. I was already in Florida. I was like, huh, I never even noticed that in there. That's crazy. Why? Because you look at the good. I tend to look at the good parts of my lawn and not the bad parts. And I think you all should do that too. Why only look at the bad stuff? Oh, I have all this POA. Yeah, but what about the other 80% of your lawn that looks freaking gorgeous? Like, focus on that, you know? So, all right, a little bit of ramble there today, but I feel like I wanted to address that because I think people just get a little crazy over that sometimes, and I just want to make sure that you're not just always reaching for the chemical first, that sometimes you get down and dig in your dirt. And since I've been kind of doing philosophical approaches to things, I wanted to talk about St. Augustine grass and disease. And I really want to talk about warm season grass in general. So just think about this as if I'm saying it to all warm season grass, even though it's really St. Augustine that I'm mostly talking about. And that is this. If you have warm season turf, I'm talking Zoysia, Bermuda, St. Augustine, to an extent Centipede and Bahia, Bahia grass. Even though those are a little bit slower, they'll do the same thing. But for sure, the aggressive Zoysia, the aggressive, super aggressive Bermuda, and super aggressive St. Augustine grass, I want you guys to have a lot more confidence in their ability to regenerate than you do. These grass types, they can take harm. They can take some burns. They can take some scalps. They can take some rips and some shreds and some scratches and some punches and come right back. And you may never even notice. Definitely your neighbors wouldn't. And that goes, when I talk about St. Augustine grass, we get a lot of fungus problems. We just do. It's just the nature. Just think about how St. Augustine grass grows. These stolons are long. They're aggressive. They're all pushing up grass blades. They're literally fighting each other. They are literally fighting each other for space. And they're all just up in each other's business, man. Like, there ain't no personal space if you're a St. Augustine grass stolen. Personal space does not exist. You will plow right through everybody. You will intertwine yourself around them, under them, over them, through them, across them, whatever you have to do to stake your claim. And you have to realize that all of the stolons are doing this. It's like a wild kingdom out there. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have that, you got a lot of stolons bumping up against each other and whacking each other and rubbing up and scratching and scraping. And when one of them gets diseased, they're going to pass it along. I mean, it's like humans. And so with that, disease becomes a challenge. The other thing with all of that clumping and grouping in there is airflow is minimized. You know, there's a lot of things. Not to mention where St. Augustine grows typically is very hot and very humid, especially in Florida. Texas has humid areas. Texas has dry areas. Whole nother thing there. But it's that humidity coupled with the heat, and that's that disease triangle, right? The disease spore has to be present, and then you have to have the right conditions, and then you have to have the host. Well, the host is there all the time. That's St. Augustine grass, and then you're going to get disease spores in the lawn from whatever. Birds bring it in, all kinds of things. And then the other thing is the conditions, which is typically going to be high humidity for the most part. So when you get the disease, whether it's Rhizoctonia large patch or gray leaf spot, people always want to reach for a fungicide and reach for a chemical. And again, I've said this before, I'm probably guilty for some of that because I've done so many different videos on fungicides and disease. But the problem is people see that video that I do on fungicide and disease, and they don't see the 10 others that I did on other practices, or that I've mentioned integrated pest management, or that I'm only, they don't see all of that in context. All they see is, there we go. There's the 2 chemicals I get. Boom, I'm going to spray them down. And they just do it all the time. And I see people, man, every time they see a brown spot in their St. Augustine grass, they're like, I went to the store and I got me some Scott's Disease X and I put that down. All right. It's like, bro, I'm so sorry if I'm the one that got you to think that that's what you do, right? I'm trying to say, I'm going to let my St. Augustine grass just fight through it. Just keep fighting through the disease problem. And I have noticed that it actually does really, really well. Now, over the winter, we don't go dormant here. We did go dormant slightly this year, but up through Christmas or whatever, typically in Florida, Rhizoctonia large patch has another resurgence during the winter. So as we come out of the summer and go into the winter, and conditions change again, you'll get some Rhizoctonia that'll come into the lawns. And the lawns that people are not feeding and not watering during the winter, that they just let go, what'll happen is the disease spreads throughout because there's literally no defense. The grass is not being fed. People don't feed their lawns here in the winter. I don't know why. They just don't, even though we don't go dormant. But the grass just kind of fades, and the disease just runs across the entire lawn. I watch it in my neighbor's lawns, whereas me, I keep mine super dark green all winter. I keep feeding it. Now, again, I tell you I blast. I don't. I've done podcasts on that before. But I do put down more than most, but I'm still within University of Florida guidelines. But the long and the short of that is my lawn stays super green. I do get 2 or 3 disease spots, but you know what happens? The disease is confined. It can't move because of the fact that every time it tries to spread, the St. Augustine just pushes back in and regrows and regenerates, just pushes in new grass blades. So you kill 2 of ours, we grow 3 new ones. You kill 3 of ours, we grew 4 new ones. You killed 5 of ours, we grew 6 new ones. It's kind of how it works. And what'll happen is you can see the Rhizoctonia gets like pissed off. It's like bright orange in my lawn in these little spots, but everything else is green, whereas everyone else's is all brown, and you can see the Rhizoctonia is just working its way through, just methodically just whacking the lawns. And by the way, they're always very slow to wake up, those neighbors, not mine. So my belief is that you treat your St. Augustine, and again, going back to it, Zoysia, Bermuda, Bahia, Centipede, similar, but for sure those others, Bermuda and Zoysia, you treat those like an athlete. Build that athlete. If you have a very healthy athlete that has great systems, that's got great nutrition and health, that is in top peak performance, they're not going to succumb to sickness in the same way as someone that used to be like me, who was overweight, never exercised, and didn't eat right at all, drank too much, all of these things, right? These are all things that allowed me to not be healthy and to get some sickness. And this doesn't happen as much with people that are healthy. And I look at my lawn the same way. I really do. I keep that thing fed and pumped. And a green lawn is a healthy lawn. I don't care. You tell me whatever you want to tell me. If your lawn is not green, it ain't healthy. Sorry. My lawn is very green. That means my lawn is very healthy. That's how I look at it. You can argue with me any way you want. And I've said that before. This is my philosophy. Have your own, bro. But if your lawn is green, then it is growing, then it is healthy, then it is vigorous, it will overcome disease. And so that's what I'm working on going at now into this season that we're in right now. Now, that might come back and bite me in the ass. And if it does, I will put that on the channel because I like showing that. Like, I like to show when I'm wrong. It's kind of cool, actually. It's really cool because then we all learn together. So I'm going with that this year. No fungicides at all. My St. Augustine is showing a little bit of disease, not too bad right now. So we'll keep going. We'll see how that goes. But I encourage others of you to also take that on, in that when you do see that you think you have disease, just sit back a minute. Just let it run. You stick to the basics, proper watering, proper mowing. If you do think you have disease, go ahead and bag the clipping because it's smart. Keep it fertilized. If you do those things, I bet you'll see really good results with your lawn overall overcoming things. And then the last thing, it goes back to the flaws, like I mentioned in the Poa annua segment, is don't always look at the flaws in your lawn. Your neighbors don't. People around you don't. Your wife, your husband doesn't. They don't see the flaws like you do. They don't see things as deep. This goes back to looking at yourself in the mirror. When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Oh, you see all your flaws. I don't like this. I don't like that. Well, don't treat your lawn that way. Treat your lawn like your wife, where you don't see her flaws. You see past her flaws and you see only the beauty. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. But I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to go after or look at your St. Augustine, your Bermuda, your zoysia, your centipede, your bahia, your Kentucky bluegrass, your turf-type tall fescue, your fine fescue, your perennial ryegrass. Yes, even your perennial ryegrass. I encourage you to look past the flaws and look at the beauty. All right, y'all, so another concept I wanted to cover now that we're coming into spring, which most of y'all across the north, you're not really getting a spring. You're going to be right into summer. But what's going to happen is you're starting to get a big blast of weeds growing in your lawn. And for sure, you guys in the south, same thing. And one of the questions that's coming in a lot that I'm seeing is people are showing pictures of their lawn and they're saying, look, I got all these weeds and I got some grass here, and should I do one thing first or the other thing first? What is the strategy? And again, this is coming into things a little bit later. It's a lot easier when I'm talking to folks and they're coming into the strategy here and it's like early March. I'm like, well, fine, let's just get down pre-emergent first. Let's work on some fertilizer. We don't have to deal with weeds, right? So you can singularly focus. But when you get to this time of year, it seems like there's a lot of things and people feel overwhelmed. And so what I wanted to kind of do is kind of level set a little bit and explain how my strategies work and why they work the way they do. And the first thing is those strategies are always based on sticking to the fundamentals. And so the fundamentals being mowing, watering, and fertilizing. Mowing, follow the 1/3 rule. Don't cut things off at the knees. Watering, it requires a lot of water to keep a lawn healthy. It requires a lot of water to keep all living things healthy. And then fertilizing. Got to keep that thing fed. So mowing, watering, and fertilizing, always stick to those basics, because what those basics are going to do is thicken up the grass you have. Even if you think the grass you have is garbage, I don't like it, it's thin, it's unhealthy, it's sick, it doesn't matter. Following those basics are going to make it better. They're going to make it vigorous. They're going to make it thicker. And that actually goes a long way into helping to keep out weeds. Literally, if you just think about it, if there's grass growing in an area, it makes it harder for weeds to grow there. Where if you have a bare spot, it makes it easier for weeds to come in. And in fact, the soil wants some sort of living root there. So sometimes when you have weeds, it's actually showing you that, hey, there's something going on here. But the long and the short of that is if you stick with those basics, that's going to go the longest way to helping you. And then you come in on top and you do spray weeds. Now, we're at that point where most of you up north can still put down a pre-emergent. So I would still say that's a part of the process. If you have my app, it'll tell you put down your pre-emergent. So that'll stop crabgrass. But I'm mainly talking about the weeds that y'all are seeing. You're getting a blast of dandelions now. You're seeing maybe some clover. A lot of people are seeing henbit, but that's a whole nother thing that's going to die anyway. But the long and the short of that is, so while you're sticking to those basics, mowing, watering, fertilizing, sure, you're going to go out, you're going to get your hand can, you're going to mix up some weed control, or maybe you're going to buy some ready to use, which is just some stuff that's already a pre-mix gallon, and you're going to go out and you're going to spray weeds. Those things do not interfere with one another. They actually help each other. So as the grass is thickening and you're killing weeds, the grass is continuing to thick, the weeds are continuing to subside, and the lawn is looking better. That's kind of the general way that the process goes. And when I say it that way, hopefully it doesn't seem as overwhelming to you. I think the other thing is people think they have to do everything in one day. One of the things we have with the app, which I don't like and we need to work on, is, when you first sign up, it's like it all tells you all these things right away. Put down RGS, put down Humic 12, put down fertilizer, put down pre-emergent. It's a lot. Those of you that have been on my products for a long time or been with my programs for a long time, you understand you don't do all those on the same day. And we're working to try to smooth that out or somehow, but with 4 biostimulants, it's just a lot. So anyway, we're simplifying things the best we can. So I think some of it is me too, just in the way that we just can't code things a certain way yet, that makes things seem overwhelming. So I wanted to just kind of address that and say, think about those basics, always have the fundamentals going, and then work on the other things as you see fit. By the way, if you don't want to kill weeds, if you just want to let the weeds go in the lawn, it's okay. You don't have to do that. If you're like, man, look, I'm having a challenge just keeping up with the fertilizing, watering, and mowing, well, then master those first. Let the weeds go. The weeds have been there before. They're going to be there again. Don't deal with those. Now, pre-emergent I do recommend because of the crabgrass, but if dandelions are going to go away, they're going to turn into white puffballs. They're going to all seed away, and you won't really see them after like June. So, there's nothing wrong with living with them. And then next year when things get a little better for you, you get a little bit more experience under your belt, you get some more confidence, and you're ready to start spraying weeds, then you can go after the weeds. But the good news is if you had a full year of fundamentals of mowing, watering, and fertilizing, I can tell you that your lawn overall is going to be so much healthier. It's going to look so much better, and you are going to have reduced weeds because it got thicker. So I just wanted to kind of address that with you guys. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I'd never want that to happen. I want lawn care to be a joyful thing. I want it to be relaxing. I want it to be rewarding. But I understand in the beginning sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming. All right, this next segment is going to be fun. I actually had a fellow YouTuber, fellow influencer, Kyle from Lake House Lawns, come in town. This has been a few weeks ago now, and hang out with me and Brett for a day. We went out and went fishing, had a good time there. And while he was here, I had him come on the podcast because I'm always interested in hearing about, folks and what do you do and what makes you tick and where do you come from and all that. And man, I tell you what, Kyle is, well, he's a salt of the earth Chicagoan. If I was to tell you why I love Chicago people, this dude is it, man. Just down to earth, super good people, family man. Just you'll see when you hear the way he talks about some of the way he approaches things and philosophy in his job. I think it'll be something that you guys will get a lot from. So with that, let's get into my interview that I had with Kyle from Lake House Lawns. I think we're good.
I saw there's an Ace right down the road. I thought that was like a Midwest thing. I didn't realize that's a.
No, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Nice.
Do you not get out of the Midwest very often?
Not often, no.
All right, so let's talk about that. So I have Kyle Coburn here, and Kyle is with Lake House Lawn Care, Lake House Lawns on YouTube. Tell us about Lake House Lawn Care, just real quick, and then we're going to get into some other stuff.
Well, I try to put a video out every couple weeks. I'm not a lawn care specialist by any means, but I enjoy making content. It's basically, my channel is all the stuff I wish I had known when I first started in the lawn. So it's kind of aimed toward the amateurs going out in the weekend who don't necessarily put tons of time into it, but just ways that people can save time, save money, and just figure out the little things I wish I had known.
So how long have you owned, is this your first lawn that you have?
It is, yes. We lived in a condo for 5 or 6 years in Chicago, and then we started a family, moved out to the suburbs. And yeah, it's been 8 or 9 years I've been working on my lawn, which started off pretty rough, but now I got it pretty good.
So you started in downtown.
Yes.
Or you grew up, I can tell by your accent, you grew up in Chicago over by there. So was downtown like your after college, like all the college kids want to have their downtown lifestyle?
It was, yeah. So we had 5 or 6 years. We lived in Wrigleyville.
Yeah,
shocking,
of course,
right? For the kids out of college. So went to Southern Illinois University out of high school, played football there. Had a great time. Met my wife there. We both moved up to Chicago together, and the rest is history.
Nice. And so you moved out to the suburbs, and what suburb did you move to?
We did. We live in Arlington Heights.
Arlington Heights.
Arlington Heights.
And why'd you choose Arlington Heights?
It's just a cool area. Like, we kind of looked all over the place. I teach up in Glencoe in the North Shore, which is like 15 miles directly north of the city on Lake Michigan.
Yep.
Not exactly close to where I live, but real estate there is unbelievably expensive.
I don't know anybody that can afford Glencoe, so that's a nice area to be in.
So yeah, my wife was working in that area, so we kind of just, and we found this lake. It's like a man-made lake that we live on, so it feels like a little slice of Wisconsin or like a Michigan lake house, but it's 5 miles from O'Hare Airport, so it's right in the middle of everything. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great spot. And, you know, the way you film it, it also looks and feels like that, too. It looks and feels like you're way out in the country somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I got to try to do that. You know, it's not the biggest lake, so I try to get the shots that make it, you know, look a little more grand than it is sometimes. But we have a great time on it. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, you have a beautiful lawn. Obviously, content is top-notch, high quality.
Thank you.
And I want people to go watch it. But this part of the content, I really want to talk more about you because it's kind of interesting. I have to be honest with you. This is a small community, lawn care. And so for somebody to not only be a part of the community and be involved in the community, then decide to start making content, I'm always curious. So, all right, that's cool. Let me find out what makes you tick, because obviously this is what I do too.
Sure.
So you said that you teach. So let's start there. What do you teach?
I do. I teach physical education and health.
Okay,
So,
I would have never guessed.
yeah, right. Try to practice.
It's a
preach.
podcast. For those of you that can't tell, bro is stacked. Okay, so
He's giving me too much credit. I appreciate that, though. So, yeah, I teach kids how to be physically fit, and my health class is like, it's so much fun teaching that every day. It's just, again, it's kind of like my YouTube channel related to lawn care. It's like if I was in 7th grade, what do I wish I had known? And every day at the beginning of class, I say, or every quarter, I say, this is going to be the best class you're going to take, because it's the one class where you get to learn about yourself. And I'm going to teach you all this stuff I wish I had known about the way things are going to go and what you can do to stay healthy, physically, mentally, just enjoy your life and reach your goals. And that's what I try to teach kids to do.
And so you're doing, so this is not just, hey, let's come out, let's run laps, let's jump rope.
That's the PE part. That's the physical part. But then I also have a classroom health class that I teach, where I'm teaching about mental health, how to stay mentally well, how to manage stress, how to eat a well-balanced diet, get enough sleep, all the things that make people tick. And I have them set goals for themselves, and I talk about some of my goals I've had related to YouTube. Like my goal originally was to be able to create content. Like that was my goal setting. As far as a teacher, you have a meeting every couple of years. You got to do some goal setting. My goal setting was to learn how to make video content. So I started practicing with my YouTube channel related to lawn care. My first videos are so terrible. Looking back on them now, it's like embarrassing to look at them, but anything you do, that's kind of how it goes. You just learn a little bit as you go and get a little bit better along the way.
So you're just looking for a new experience, a new challenge.
Yeah.
Because you're a teacher, obviously. And that's what we really are on YouTube, all of it. I tell people that too. I tell them, I'm an 8th grade teacher. I teach the same subject every year.
Yeah.
I still have to make it fresh.
Right.
But so now what you're doing is you're taking and teaching a really different subject, something you learned on your own.
Totally.
And you're teaching it now. So is this just like a new challenge for you?
Basically, I use the same principles I use when I teach kids. Like you have to speak in a way to where the people who know nothing about it are going to get something out of it and they're going to understand, but the people who have a pretty good knowledge aren't going to be bored out of their mind, and they also get something from it too. So
That's a balance.
Kind of balancing that and making sure that it's engaging and it's entertaining, because people, you could put out an article and have somebody read it, but they would rather see somebody who's entertaining give the information to them and see something that's intriguing and something that's exciting. So that's kind of how I try to run my channel.
I like that. Do your students know about your channel?
They do.
What do they think?
They think it's hilarious, because they'll be like, "Oh, what kind of videos do you make?" I'm like, "I make lawn care videos." Like, what?
Yeah, they don't get it, right?
They all have people who do all that for them at their houses,
right?
So they'll be like, "All right, let me look up your channel." Like, he's got 11,000 subscribers. He's got a video with 1.2 million views. Like, what the?
So you get cred like automatically.
Yes.
You should wear a shirt with a blue check mark
Right?
verified.
Exactly.
See what they do.
Yes, they think that's pretty cool.
They
Because
do,
like,
right?
I don't talk myself up to them, but they'll look it up, and then they're like, "Oh my God, he actually has some people who are interested in what he's talking about."
Well, that's kind of a way of connecting, right?
It
And then,
is.
and I do that too. I'll throw that kind of stuff out because it's a way of telling folks, look, we can connect. You just have to understand where we're connected at.
Yeah.
And look, I did something that you actually have respect for.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. So
Thank you.
have you got plans? Like, what are your future plans? Like, where are you going to go with this thing now? Because you're showing growth. So it's like you said, you're seeing now that you can have some success. You're seeing what it can do. You're getting a taste of that. You're getting some tool companies reaching out and such, as we talked about, which is awesome.
Thank you.
So where are you going to go?
Honestly, like, I don't have a grand scheme plan of where I'm trying to get to with it. Like, every week when I go make a video, like I was telling Brett a little bit ago, I just go out and I think, if I was somebody in my area at that time of year, what would I be looking to do, and what can I do to help people out with that process to save time and save money and know exactly what they should be doing at that time. So my content's not always perfect for everybody. Like anybody, like there's going to be people asking questions from the South or from a different part of the country where what I'm talking about maybe doesn't apply to them, but just generally what can I do to help people out and show them what I'm doing, and then just showing off the results I get. I think that's the best thing you can do as a YouTuber, is just be like, hey, I can talk all day, but here's the end product. So when you can show them the end product that you get and what you do to get there, it's a recipe for success.
It's as real as it gets. It's what really makes YouTube so different from every other content.
Yeah.
You know, like I watch a lot of HGTV stuff and was inspired by that when I was younger. But you know it's all scripted.
Yeah,
whereas
exactly.
There's something about the selfie stick, and I don't know what you probably shoot with like a really big DSLR and all that, don't you?
Well, I've got like a Canon M50, so I'm on the.
Is that a good one? I don't know.
All right.
Is it? I really don't know.
It's not like a real expensive camera. And I usually shoot in a tripod. I just set it up. So
oh, you do?
I don't shoot handheld a whole lot.
Okay.
But when I do, like I'll usually just use my phone for that, which you get crappy audio from that. But whatever. People appreciate that sometimes.
That's exactly what I was getting at. There's something about people appreciating that's a dude in his yard, and they know that you edit it. They know you picked that tripod up and moved it to the new angle.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of our audience that they appreciate that effort, and they'll acknowledge that, and those are cool. Those are good to see.
Absolutely. Like I've shot national TV commercials before because I work as a model and an actor. I don't know if I've told you that before.
Let's talk a little bit about that too.
Okay,
all right?
So like I was in a national TV commercial for Sears. It was like a Labor Day mattress sale they had.
Well, you did so good for them. They're out of business
right?
now.
Exactly.
Great job,
That's what
bro.
I said. So they actually, I never ended up getting paid for that because they went bankrupt. So my best job I had as a model or actor or whatever, and I'm excited about it, and it's playing nationally. People are calling me and texting me, I just saw some guy on TV that looks just like you. I was like, that was me. So never ended up getting paid by that. But just back to your point, the production, like there's so many people involved in this, and there's professional lights and cameras, and everything is scripted, and you shoot all day for a 15-second spot. So it's like to see that side of things, and then I think people appreciate all the work that goes into what we do, because we're the producer, we're the director, we're the writer, we're the on-screen talent. Like there's a lot of work that goes into all of this, which a lot of people maybe don't realize. To make a 5-minute video takes you 6 or 7, 10, 20 hours, depending on how much effort you're going to put into it.
Well, and at the higher quality that you do, I understand that's why I don't have that. I understand what goes into yours. And so that goes back to why I wonder, you're making all that effort. You're putting in a lot of literal work to make those videos. So that's why I always wonder, what would make someone do that? What would motivate you to that? So I understand you're a teacher. I get it. I see more though. I see that you want to actually help people in general. And you've seen that lawn care can actually improve. You talked about mental health. I think it can give you confidence that you maybe never had. What are some other things that you see lawn care does that cross over that way?
Just the physical activity you get, and just the satisfaction you get at the end of the day, sitting down after I've done all this work and I'm with my family and the kids are playing in the backyard and just looking around at everything. It's like, it's what I always wished I had when I was a kid. And to see that kind of come to fruition later on in life, it's pretty cool, because I'm somebody who, exactly. I'm somebody who, if I'm going to focus on something or whatever it is I'm focused on at that time, I'm going to try to be the absolute best I can. Like I don't go halfway on anything. So if I set a goal, I'm going to do my best to get there. And sometimes even exceed, hopefully, what my goal was originally. And that's kind of what's happened with my channel. I never really had this, I want to become a lawn care YouTuber and I want people to watch my videos. I want this many subscribers, whatever. But every week I'm just learning new things and trying to make my videos better and better, and see where it goes.
That's awesome. I love seeing that. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the modeling thing, because that's cool, because I can see that.
It's interesting. It's something that my students see that too, and they always have tons of questions. And that's another thing, is I teach about like body image and eating disorders, and I relate that to the media and just the messages kids get from the media. And I'll show different advertisements and be like, well, what's the message being given here? And I show a couple, and then the third one I'm in, and they're like, is that you in this advertisement? So just showing them, like, people get this perception the way they should feel about themselves based off standards from the media, and then I'll show them the behind the scenes. I'm like, all this stuff is fake. Like, it's not even a real house we're shooting in. There's lights, like.
Well, and the lighting itself can really accentuate,
and the camera that costs $150,000, and so.
What kind of stuff do you mostly do?
So basically anything that shoots around Chicago or the Wisconsin area. So like I originally started with Jockey. I was an underwear model for Jockey.
Okay.
So if you bought a pair of Jockey underwear, it's usually cut down from like the neck down. I was the guy on the packaging for Jockey. So I did that in my 20s.
All right.
And then it was like the day I hit 30, it's been all dadvertising. So like everything I do now, I play the dad. So
makes
like
sense.
Kohler, the design company Kohler, they make faucets and toilets and all that stuff. I was on the cover of their design catalog last year. So that, like Kohl's, Kmart, when that used to be around, Meijer. I actually got to shoot with my whole family for Meijer, which is nice.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the pandemic, they couldn't mix families together anymore. So they were like, would your whole family possibly want to shoot? So my son was getting cut a royalty check at the age of 2 years old. So
So are you doing like their inserts that they're sending in newspapers? You're doing the digital, you're doing
all of the above.
So they have a whole campaign and they'll just shoot you and all these different things and they'll just digitize you or put you in the...
Exactly. I shot for Land's End recently. They're in Dodgeville, Wisconsin. So I went and shot for Land's End for their catalog, and we shot in Madison a couple times. So yeah, just basically anything that shoots around the Chicagoland area. My agency in Chicago is like one of the best, so they book good jobs, and my agent will contact me and say, hey, are you available on this day? And try to make myself available as much as possible.
How busy are you?
Well, I would say 1 or 2 jobs a month I have. Like, it's not something I ever try to pursue full time, because as a teacher during the school year, I don't get that many days off.
Right.
Summertime is great because I can work as much as I want to, but there's not always as many jobs. It's usually a fall or spring type of thing. But
That is such an interesting thing. So have you thought about trying to increase your, let me ask this. Do you see a lot of fitfluencers, influencers, Instagram people coming across into what you do now? Because you do this a while, right?
Yeah.
So
I've done this for like 15 years now.
Right. So it's changed. I'm going to assume that this has changed over time. Is that true?
It has, definitely.
What ways has it changed?
Well, like you said, there's so many people who can be a model and just, they're modeling things on their own channel or their own Instagram or whatever. What I do, like, basically I have to keep the same size. As long as my body stays the same size, companies will want me to be in their catalog, not necessarily because of how great my hair looks or because of whatever, but it's just the way the clothes look on me. So while you might think somebody who's like this big, bulky bodybuilder or whatever, they may book a job, it's realistically, most of the companies, if it's a fashion company, they just want to see somebody who meets certain specs, who the clothes lay well on them and look good on them. So.
Yeah, well, there's certain brands that are skinny brands that I know I can't wear, or that are too tall for me or whatever. So you just know what brands work for you, and you just kind of keep yourself in their wheelhouse?
They'll send out samples, and then you put the samples on, you take pictures at your own house, and then if they like the way they look, they'll book you for the job. So it used to be you had to go into auditions all the time, but now it's kind of nice because a lot of what you do is either a self-tape, which YouTube has helped with that as well, or it's just trying things on at home. So,
have you run into any crazy fitness influencers or anything like that? Not
really.
Fitness influencers, but just any crazy wild, coming in trying to...
One guy I worked with recently in the last couple of years is he was on The Bachelor. So he was on The Bachelor. He met his fiance on Bachelor in Paradise. His name's Kenny. He's from Chicago. So just, I don't know, all the time you're working jobs and you'll see, like I worked with Pamela Anderson and Dennis Rodman one time.
Really?
Yeah. So she had a fashion line, and it was in Hammond, Indiana at the Horseshoe Casino. And
hey, Hammond, Indiana, over by the region. Shout out to the region.
Yeah, so she had this runway show at the Horseshoe at the venue. So there's all these tables, like blackjack tables and everything set up. And Dennis Rodman's the MC of this big event they hosted on a weekend, just as like a introduction to her clothing line. So she chose me as one of her models for that show. So that was like... you never know what you're going to get. That is cool. I could be working with VTech Toys and working with a 2-year-old kid or doing that, or it could be I'm in a Speedo on stage with Pamela Anderson.
There you go.
You really never know what you're going to get.
Guys, maybe do some grilling on the weekends.
Exactly.
You do have that whole, what'd you call it, dadvertising?
Dadvertising. Yeah, I coined that term myself.
Yeah, I like that one,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So a couple more things, because you are very well connected in Chicago, I'm finding. So tell me some famous people in Chicago that you know, because you already said that your uncle is Jobo.
Yes. So my uncle...
What is he doing now? Well, so for people that don't know, this dude is like the voice of Chicago radio to so many people that lived there. I lived in Chicagoland from 97 to 2012, and he was in the earlier parts of that. So tell me about who your uncle is.
So my uncle is Jobo, from Eddie and Jobo on B96 in Chicago, and anybody basically from the age of like 20 to 60, if you say, hey, do you know who Eddie and Jobo are? They're like, yeah, I used to listen to them all the time. That's what everybody always says. So Jobo's my dad's brother, so he's my uncle. He doesn't have any kids of his own, so my sister and I have always been like his closest family. So Thanksgiving's always at Uncle Jobo's house.
Wow.
And yeah, so growing up, like he would take us to the B Bash, they would call it, which is the concert every summer. So we'd be backstage with all the A-list celebrities like Britney Spears.
As little kids and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
That's awesome.
Like, it was amazing. So, and we didn't get them, the radio stations. So for me, I just saw him as my uncle because we lived like an hour and a half away from Chicago. And he also has a house there. That's where he's retired now. So I just see that part of him and be like, hey, do you guys want to come into the B-Bash? And I'm thinking I'm in the nosebleeds. And realistically, I'm backstage with Rihanna and Britney Spears and all. It was crazy.
That is awesome. So he's retired. Does he do anything anymore? He just chills?
He does some voice work.
Yeah, I
and
bet.
they also did the United Auto Insurance commercials.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember
he stayed
those.
with them all
yeah.
along. Yeah.
So
United Auto Insurance.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Exactly. You got it.
Who else? You know any other famous people in Chicago?
Well, let's see. I worked with Common, if you know who the rapper Common is. I worked in
Sounds
events.
familiar.
Yeah, he's a rapper from Chicago. Saw Kanye West at a couple events that
Yeah,
we
that's
did.
Chicago guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So just the modeling scene, like I'll be working at Nordstrom or something, or I'll be working wherever at a Cartier event, and that's where I saw Common and Kanye West and in the same room interacting with those guys. And sad, same way I feel right now being with Alan Hayne. You know, you never know who you're going to be with or what celebrities you're going to meet.
All right. Well, we're going to end it on that. Kyle, it's been fun. Thanks for letting me dig into your life a little bit.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You are such an interesting dude. So, I mean, seriously, I just love meeting people and just seeing where they come from and what they do. And you have done some really cool stuff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
some great
Life
stuff.
is your oyster, right?
How about that?
Do what you want to do and set some goals and see where life takes you. And it's taken me here today in Florida.
There you go. You got a great outlook. Go ahead and give these guys a final little pitch where they can find you, all that kind of stuff.
So my channel is called Lake House Lawn Care on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, and yeah, I try to put out videos every couple weeks, just basic lawn care things. I reel mow my backyard, so I keep my backyard like a fairway about a 1/2 inch. And I also have the front yard, which is more of a traditional 2 to 3 inch standard cool season grass. So I try to have a fun channel that people enjoy, and I have a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Good talking
Thanks,
with you.
Alan.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Lawns Across America. I hope wherever you are, you get to get out this week and enjoy some weeknight lawn work. Enjoy the mow. Get out there in the lawn. Get a little something going. And, you know, I've heard about some people talking about this no-mow May or something, let your lawn grow long. I don't know anything about that. I actually think we should do the opposite of that, and we should do mow more May. We should go and mow more in May because it's going to be healthier for our lawns, but it's also going to be healthier for you. I don't know if you know, but mowing burns a lot of calories. And so the more you mow, the healthier your lawn and you will grow. So let's do May for mow more May. And if people want to mow less in May and let things grow out for the bees, they can sit up on the porch and plant flowers and bring us iced tea while we're mowing in the heat. With that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And again, I hope you get to enjoy the mow, enjoy some weeknight lawn work. I'll see you in the lawn.